This is All Things Ansys, a podcast from the technical support staff at PADT. Episode 56, we talk about Ansys with PADT's Ansys sales team, and then go over the news and events in the Ansys world. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. My name is Eric Miller. I'm one of the owners here at PADT. And it's a sunny day here in Phoenix. It's a Saturday, but we do know that most of our employees east and north of us are dealing with cold and in some places actually dangerous weather. So to everybody out there listening, hopefully that's cleared, but if not, stay warm. And to help everybody out when I'm done with this recording, I'm going to go out into the backyard and lay in my hammock and enjoy our warm weather here. We haven't checked our podcast stats in a while. As of today, February 8th, we have had 17,353 downloads, and that's over 55 episodes, which is 315 per episode. So that's the highest number we've had in a very long time per episode. In fact, I think that's the first time it's jumped over 310. So thanks to everybody that's been spreading the word and everybody that's been joining the podcast. We hope we continue to grow and you continue to enjoy our little podcast. So today, we're going to have a discussion. It's a little bit different. In January, I think we talked about this in the last podcast, we head off to some location with a big hotel for the annual Ansys sales kickoff. And salespeople from all around the world gather in one place, and we talk about how we did last year and what's coming down the road and then in the new year coming. And our sales team rented a big house. We got a 10-bedroom house there in the outskirts. It was in Orlando this year. And we didn't want to pay Disney prices for a hotel, so we got this gigantic 10-bedroom house. And I got the great idea of bringing a microphone along and recording them in that house. And it would be a lot of fun. And, well, we never actually did it. We're always coming and going at odd hours, and people had meetings when we wanted to record. So we did it on Microsoft Teams after we got back on Thursday. So everybody's spread out around the country. But it was a good discussion, and I'll explain why we did it in the intro to the podcast. So here it is. Hey, I want to welcome everybody to a very special interview that we're doing, a group interview we're doing here at PADT. For the first time ever on the All Things Ansys podcast, we are doing a podcast with our sales team. Hopefully, many of you who are listeners have interacted with these people over the years and know how capable and intelligent and sometimes funny they can be. And we hope that comes through on our podcast today. And we want to kind of get their perspective of the Ansys world, because we're usually talking to engineers or developers, but they see things a little bit differently because they're out there helping customers solve problems. So I thought it'd be kind of a cool topic to discuss. So we're going to go around the virtual room. We're all using Microsoft Teams. And I'm going to start. We're going alphabetically by first name. So Brian Benbow, why don't you tell us where you live and how you ended up being a salesperson at Ansys or at PADT?
Sure. Thank you, Eric. This is Brian Benbow. I'm an account manager with PADT out of Southern California. I live in Burbank, California, entertainment capital of the world, as you might know it. I came to Ansys via previous sales experience with SolidWorks, and then also selling to a lot of manufacturers here in Southern California. So there's a lot of companies and industries in common between SolidWorks and my previous experience in energy efficiency. And that's how I came, full circle from SolidWorks to selling Ansys with PADT.
Yeah, so he definitely, Brian lives in one of the cooler, we can all argue about this, but one of the cooler places of all of our employees. Yeah, but we appreciate him putting up with the traffic in California. So you're a brave man. You're a brave man. Mr. Dan.
Yes, I'm Dan. I cover Arizona here and actually live in the Phoenix area. Have a mechanical engineering background. Spent some time in the industrial equipment world, which kind of brought me to the Ansys world. So that's where I come from and where I'm at.
Cool. Very good. Heather, Utah, are you at the highest altitude, or I think today you're at the highest altitude?
I probably am.
Yeah.
So I'm Heather Dean. I don't have an engineering background, but I used to manage the enterprise distributors as a contractor for NVIDIA. So I knew about Ansys, just knowing that that's the diagnosing applications is what I used to do. So
cool. And you're based out of north of Salt Lake City. Is that a good statement?
yeah.
And I always, before I talk to Ian, I always ask him if there's a hurricane, tornado, or flood headed his way. Ian is in our Texas location. How things going there, Ian?
Things are good. We actually got a little bit of snow this morning. And by snow, I mean snow on people's cars. But it did hit 29 last night, which is rare for Texas.
Yeah.
My name is Ian Scott. I live in Austin, Texas, the capital city, and I'm an Ansys account manager. I came to Ansys from the SolidWorks world, spent several years over there providing CAD solutions to folks. And I decided to go to Ansys. I didn't know a lot about simulation. I knew kind of about CAD embedded simulation, but I was, I think, just realizing that it was probably the future as far as an actual solution. And so I started applying to different companies in the simulation space. And here I am at PADT. And so I've been with the company about 2 years, actually 2 years yesterday.
Well, congrats.
And so it's been exciting. Yeah.
Very good. And I'm going to say that Ian wins the award for the best barbecue in his location. So
we are prideful about that. Yes.
very much
there
so.
Is no doubt.
I used to joke about it. Then I went there and I'm like, well, no, they're serious.
It's competitive.
It's very competitive. Yeah. And last, because his name begins with a W, Mr. Will, who's right across the hallway from me. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Will Kruspe. I'm one of the newer members to the Ansys sales team, but definitely learning a lot in the short time that I've been here. I've come from a background of CNC and additive manufacturing, both on the polymer side and the metal side. And the first taste of simulation I had, the company that I worked with that developed their own CNC software had done simulation for toolpaths, so simulating the metal cutting on their machines. So that was really the first taste of simulation that I had, which made me a little bit more interested and brought me to my role here at PADT. I live in the Phoenix area, but I sell remotely to Northern California, so Silicon Valley and the Bay Area primarily. And yeah, that's about it.
Pretty exciting stuff. He gets to talk to a lot of new startups, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, certainly.
Very, very cool. All right. So the whole point of being here, I ask if looks like the manager of this great team, Mr. Calvin, wasn't able to get his equipment to work, so he's not going to join us today, or maybe he'll come back in halfway through, but he just dropped off. So we'll go ahead and get started without Bob. And the other person that couldn't make it that you should know about on our team is Eric Coder, who's out of the Denver office, and he covers parts of Colorado as well as New Mexico. And he's with a customer right now in New Mexico, so that's why he's not joining us. So, and his background is also SolidWorks. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, correct. Eric comes from a SolidWorks background as well.
Okay, cool. So, we just got back from the SKO, the what we call the sales kickoff, where we get all the salespeople from around the world together in the Ansys world, and as well as just releasing 2020 R1. Anybody want to step up and tell me what they're, from a salesperson's perspective, somebody who's trying to help their customers be successful, what you're most excited about that's going on with this new release of Ansys?
This is Will.
Yeah.
I'd say right off the bat, the thing that definitely excites me, that we had a keynote speech from some of the product development people at BMW talking about their advancements in the autonomous vehicle space. And I can say firsthand that it's definitely something at the forefront of Ansys and what they're trying to develop, and sort of their forward-thinking approach to things. And it's definitely something that I deal with on a daily basis, and something that I'm definitely really excited about.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of interest in using simulation in both electrification of the cars, as well as they were mostly focused on getting all these sensors they need to work and training the algorithms behind the sensors using simulation. It was a really exciting talk. Even though they were German engineers, it was still kind of exciting. They're very methodical in their process. Anybody else have one to share?
Yeah, just from a high level, it's encouraging and exciting to see Ansys continue to make investments, not only in developing the tools they're well known for, and broadening the scope of solutions to autonomy and electrification, but really expanding the end-to-end solution, bringing in materials, and also with Minerva, kind of that engineering PLM system.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance to talk too much on the podcast about Minerva, but it's like Dan said, it's PLM for simulation, and it's really powerful. We're getting our head around it here, and we'll share it definitely. And I know you guys are finding customers interested in managing all that data as well. Yeah, I like all its options. Anybody else got something?
I can jump in. This is Ian.
Yeah.
I think electrification is the big. Is like a big topic right now. Texas historically is like very oil and gas, but also aerospace heavy. Yeah. And I'm working with a few startups who are interested in space communication, which is very exciting. So not just building rockets, but building systems for aerospace applications to communicate. And so electronics, and they're just integrating electronics and more types of devices. And so that's just very exciting. It's very much at the forefront, and those folks are very interested in simulation. So that's exciting.
Yeah, it's so true. And everything's getting smaller and hotter as well. So it's getting more difficult. The biggest area, right, of growth for us last year, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, and I think Bob's joining us. Bob, did you get in?
I'm in.
This is a great question for Bob. Our biggest area of growth last year was in high frequency electromagnetic simulation. Is that a valid statement?
It is.
Yeah. What do you think is driving that? Why do you think so many customers in that space are adding simulation?
Well, I think it's I think it's a mega trend that has local roots for companies that we work with, and so. There's a lot of push for smart devices. There's a lot of push for IoT and industrial Internet of Things as well. And there's a lot of push for electrification. And across the board, everybody that's looking to do this is coming in at perhaps the hardest time ever to electrify and make a device smart. And so the engineering challenges have never been bigger, but everybody's looking to do it at the same time. And so those two waves are crashing into each other and causing a lot of growth for this class of tool.
And simulation is allowing them to compete, right? Without it, you really can't keep up, right, with some of these problems.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think the reality is that without simulation, with this class of problem, particularly with high frequency electromagnetics, these problems are unsolvable without a simulation tool. So
cool.
So that helps.
Yeah, definitely true. What else does anybody want to share that they saw in the new release or saw at the SKO that they gets kind of excited about what their customers might find useful?
Sorry, guys, I can't help myself. Yeah, I mean, to me, the what is Ansys has changed dramatically from when I started over 10 years ago.
Yeah,
and so the standard use case for Ansys being structural and thermal analysis, and maybe getting into some fluid analysis, and maybe getting into some electromagnetics has really branched into a lot of different areas. And so the full solution of Ansys is, multiple physics. And I struggle to think of physics that we don't capture in some sense, going from, to be able to include optics now, to be able to include electronics down to the level of ICs, even getting into, embedded software and code generation. And then last year, there's just a huge slew of acquisition.
Yeah.
And so on top of all these core physics, you start layering in things like material data and material intelligence with the Granta acquisition. You start to look at how can we leverage physics to get a data point with one of our physics tools, and then use a tool like Sherlock from DFR Solutions to understand the reliability and the lifing of this system. The ability to take, all this stuff and wrap it into process integration with Donardo's OptiSlang, and do optimizations off of all these things. And so now I can take really complex simulation workflows and automate them and optimize and drive them with some really powerful, optimization algorithms. And so what is Ansys is really exploded in the last 2 or 3 years into something that's well beyond just some core physics and mechanical and electrical engineering.
So true. And that's why it was kind of an overwhelming couple of days when we were at the kickoff. It's like every hour they'd bring up a new product and we're like, that's super cool. We need to get that in front of more customers. And then we'd be like, there's another one. We also I know some of you had time to meet some of the partners. So these are people that not companies that were acquired by Ansys, but companies that partner with Ansys and have tools or hardware that helps Ansys. Anything in there that you guys saw that you think users should know about? I know I had a couple of my favorites.
This is Will. One that I remembered them talking about in particular had to do with IoT, and they brought on it was Rockwell Automation, who's one of the bigger names when it comes to that sort of thing. And they just talked about sort of like the factory of the future and machines being able to monitor themselves. Being from the CNC world, I just think of monitoring cutting tools, monitoring coolant levels, coolant conditions, and things like that, and being able to communicate that to one centralized location. It's really amazing just how far that's come, and really what sensors can do for sort of the factory floor in that sense.
Yeah, there are a couple IoT PTC solution that works with Ansys, as well as some new stuff coming down the pipe from SAP as well. It was pretty neat stuff. And then the Rockwell was kind of cool because if you use their equipment, they just basically have an Ansys library, so you can model their stuff in Ansys. So I thought that was pretty impressive. Anybody else have any other favorites? No? So Rocky DEM is a particle modeling tool. So it allows you to model things as particles. So if you've got rocks or potato chips or thousands and thousands of little pharmacy pills, you can model those things in this tool, and it works really well with Ansys. And we hope to have them on the podcast at some point. It's written by the channel partner down in South America, ESSS, which are a great group of people. And that tool has really come along and does some really neat modeling of stuff that we don't normally do in the Ansys world.
Yeah, I would just add on to that, with the Rocky DEM, I think there's a lot of opportunity for our customers to start modeling manufacturing process. Yep. That's a gray area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you've got a raw material that you're moving and changing and modifying, and it's not just a block, this is such a great tool for that. So yeah, but definitely reach out if you're interested, because we'd love to talk to more people about that. We're looking for some good use cases as well. Of course, the FlowNext folks were there, and we love FlowNext. That they were great to see again, and see people interact with them and talk about new applications for that fluid thermal solver that we also resell here at PADT. There was some good hardware as well. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at that. That was pretty exciting to see that the hardware vendors are finally getting what we need, as well as some cloud solutions, which we talk a lot about on the podcast as well. That was pretty much it for those things. And then
I had one other partner though that I would call out that I've seen as a need, as a recurring theme.
Yep.
And it was from a company in Colorado, EMA.
Yes.
Has developed a tool built inside of Ansys' Space Claim tool that allows you to mock up and do modeling of wires and wire harnessing. Mm-hmm. And as we think about vehicles and aircraft and really a lot of different devices that have a lot of cables and harnessing and all of the interference that can happen, especially as we get into higher frequencies, the really strong solution emerged, which I see have seen in the last few years as a hole in the market. There just really isn't a good solution on the market today that I've seen for being able to capture interference with cables and cable modeling. And so that tool is in development. I believe it's being released here in Q1, but that's something to be on the lookout for and to be aware that there's a solution for it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those problems that people just assume they have to go to test for. And build a rig and then get out antennas and measure what the crosstalk is and, oscilloscopes and stuff. And yeah, we can with this tool, we can build models that we can then run in Ansys and get results. And the ironic, I don't know if it's irony, I always get irony wrong, but the day before we were talking to them about this solution, Boeing announced that they were delaying the 737 Supermax release because of cable crosstalk in some of their control systems. So that exact same problem that they're going to be able to model now. So that should be pretty powerful. If nobody has anything else, I think I want to shift gears a little bit. And you've all been selling Ansys different amounts of times, 10 years in Bob's case, and just a few months in Will's, I think, is the shortest termer. I just like to know what's the thing that you get most excited about when you get to go to talk to a customer? What do you love about Ansys that you think is cool and makes your job a little bit more fun? We can go alphabetical if you want. We can start with Bob if you want.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to start.
Okay.
I mean, for me, it's sort of never. This hasn't changed. It's just sort of gotten deeper, and that's. I always know that if I walk into a company, regardless of industry, they have a technical. I have a technical fit. The Ansys can be applied in so many ways, and if you're developing any product, we have the ability to simulate the most advanced physics that exist. And so, what's fun is being able to, especially as Ansys has grown in our solution space, is being able to walk into a company and really find the ways that we can add value to what companies are doing as they're developing product, and whether that's a time to market savings, whether it's an innovation leap, whatever it may be, we have the ability to seriously impact the design of product in a number of industries, which makes it fun.
I so agree with that. I love being able to say yes when we walk in. It's so much better. It's great. How about you, Brian? You're out there, got a slightly different kind of customer base. I know you're working with some different kinds of industries. What's the most exciting thing for you?
I think kind of echoes along the same thing that you guys talked about, but it's exciting as a salesperson to feel like you're selling something where you can say yes, constantly to the prospect. And so that's always great. You always feel like you have something to offer, number one. And then the other thing that is exciting about selling Ansys is kind of enlightening the prospect to a certain degree. I mean, a lot of the themes of the discussions and the conference calls that we've had internally around some of the business units is your customers, your prospects, the companies that you work with, they don't even know that these capabilities exist. So bringing those capabilities to light for some of our prospects is a really exciting process, because it's not like you are showing them or you're trying to convince them to buy something or invest in something that they know exists. You're showing them something. Hey, did you know you can do this? And then it makes the process, the discovery, the sales process, and then the culmination of the sale, it makes it that much better. So those are the two things that I enjoy about selling Ansys.
Very cool. Very cool. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, to build on what these guys have said, I think it's so satisfying to be able to help our customers solve problems that they really wouldn't be able to solve without our tools. In some cases, we have customers who literally tell us that they wouldn't be able to make what they make without our tools and without our help, and wouldn't be in business without our tools. So I think that's really cool. Just to have a solution that's helps people have breakthroughs in technology.
Yeah, in fact, we ran into that just a couple of weeks ago with one of your customers down in Tucson, Freefall, where the CTO, I think, is his role, but basically the scientist behind their very novel high-frequency antenna design said, we can't get to market without HFSS. It's just not possible. And that was really cool to hear from him. We tell them that, but when they actually say, yeah, it's true, it's really positive. And they're doing great with that. How about you, Heather?
Well, I would, I know a lot of people have hit on it, but I would definitely say that just proving the value of Ansys, whether we come in and we displace a competitive software, or somebody isn't using simulation at all, it's nice to be able to open these customers' eyes to say, maybe you weren't doing things. Maybe you thought that this was the appropriate way or perfect way of doing things, but coming in and showing them that there's better capabilities out there.
Yeah, it's good to do. Yeah, I can't argue with that. That's
yeah,
so
we don't sell software for the sake of selling software. We sell software because it solves the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Ian, what about yourself?
I would say those things that were previously mentioned, but also like the partnership aspect. I interact with a lot of my customers weekly, the same ones week in and week out. And
right.
I think in the beginning, when you kind of provide them the tool before they've started to use it, they're not apprehensive, but it's new and it's fresh. And then I've been talking to them and they said, they'll say things like, we've been working with you guys for, a year and a half. And this has just revolutionized, our business, like not only from a product development perspective, but it saved us time and money. And, just knowing that and getting to know everyone in the company and them being able to establishing the relationship to where we can work with them long term and also add simulation in other areas as well.
Right.
Kind of when the light bulb turns on, they're like, well, what if we simulated this? Maybe we could save money in this aspect too. So just that and working with them for a long time is, I think, something we're really skilled at, and the value we add. We work with them over years, and hopefully continuing that. So that's exciting. I enjoy that about the job.
Yeah. And Will, before he gets started, he's got one of the hardest jobs because Will's got to go into new named people that may not even know who PADT and Ansys are a lot. So, I mean, everybody does that to some extent, but that's been Will's task since he started. So, curious, give you kudos for being brave and doing that. What's your feeling on what's the best part of doing your job?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. I think that one of the sort of inherent needs is doing more with less, especially with small startup companies that are VC funded and have to get to market quickly. That's really it sort of plays in with what we're all about with trying to leverage simulation to help bring products to market quicker by doing less prototyping and things like that. But another enjoyable aspect for me is sort of the wide array of high tech companies that I get to work with in the Silicon Valley area, whether it's like medical devices, a lot of autonomous vehicle companies, not only on the software end of things, but hardware, and then sort of sensor fusion or integrating those two together, all the way to different aerospace companies and things like that. I mean, I think that there's just a certain vibrancy that's involved with the startup life, and definitely something that we help play into.
Yep, for sure. They do some fun stuff. Yep. And that's pretty much all I had for today. Does anybody else want to add anything, since Eric Coder's not on the line? Does anybody want to attack him where he can't defend himself? Does anybody have anything they want our listeners to know about their job? If not, I will say for you, reach out to these people. Even if you're not in our territory, they know their stuff. They may know somebody in your territory that is. If you're located anywhere from Texas all the way to California, the whole state of California, definitely reach out to us. We can help you. But even if you're not, and you're a listener and you need some help or some resources, or just want to learn something, reach out to us at PADT. We always have the contact information at the end of the podcast, and we'd love to connect you with the right people in your area and help you be successful. And don't forget, we also do consulting, so we can also help you with that, and training as well as mentoring. So we're always here to help people be successful. Well, I want to thank everybody for your time and joining us for this slightly different podcast. I didn't give them any prep questions, so they did great going on appreciate that. And hopefully we'll do this again in a little bit and see what's changed, maybe in a year or so. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So some of you hopefully are customers of ours, and you know the salespeople that were on this podcast, and you enjoyed hearing from them again. And those of you who are not customers, you got a chance to learn why so many people speak so highly of our team. Very proud of them. If I was the co-owner of a used car lot, I probably wouldn't hire any of them. They'd probably suck at selling cars. But since we own an engineering company, they worked out perfectly, and it seems like a win-win for everybody. So we do enjoy having them. I hope you enjoyed their different perspective on things. Usually we're more from an engineer's perspective, but they're looking at it from kind of the customer's point of view. So hope you enjoyed it. We're still working on getting new commercials. So till then, please consider PADT as your Ansys supplier. If you're in the Southwestern U.S., that's from Texas all the way to California, and also for simulation consulting and customization. We are also just as good at additive manufacturing and product development. So give us a try. We love what we do, and our customers tell us that we're good at it. So please consider PADT as your partner for whatever you need in the mechanical engineering world. In terms of news, let's take a look at Ansys stock. It finished the week at $284.83. This is a Saturday, so that was the end of the market on Friday. And the market in general dropped on Friday. The $293.43 that was the previous week is still the all-time high for the stock. And on February 26th is when they released their 2019 numbers. So there's not a lot of news out there. In fact, there's no Ansys news to report because they're in a quiet period before they go ahead and talk about that they did last year. So we look forward to discussing that, probably not in the next episode, but maybe the one after that. And we don't have any PADT news as well. It's been kind of quiet. We've all been working very, very hard. There were 3 really cool articles since our last podcast recording in the Ansys blog that I want to share. And the first one is why I love the Ansys blog. It's more than just Ansys stuff. The folks at Granta wrote a really cool article called "Never Underestimate the Remarkable Benefits of Corrugated Iron." And like I said, it's from the Granta team because they know materials and they care about materials. And it's kind of got a cool history on why we made this soft iron stuff covered with that's galvanized with various materials. I think zinc in most cases. And so they give a little bit of history and why it's so awesome. So it's kind of a fun read. The next one's a little more technical, and I found it interesting as well. I've always wondered a little bit more about what is cavitation, the little bubbles that come off of a propeller underwater. So they talk about what causes it and then how to prevent it, what you can do to your design to get rid of it. So that's actually a useful thing if you do any kind of pumping. And then the last one was another interesting one that's not necessarily Ansys related. It's the top 10 edutainment and engineering YouTube channels. And it's Sean Wasserman, who works for Ansys, picked his 10 favorite channels. I subscribe to 3 of them, I think, but I'm going to add 2 more that were on that list. So check it out. There's some cool ones on there, both well-known and some that aren't that well-known. And it's basically people doing experiments and slow motion videos and blowing stuff up and talking about physics and math and science. And they're all really good, and check that out. We also did not add anything to the PADT blog over the last 2 weeks. So let's talk about upcoming events. I will be with some other folks from Ansys in California, in Anaheim to be particular, at the Pacific Design and Manufacturing Show, which is also MD&M West for 2020. I'll be in the booth Tuesday and Wednesday, and then I'm speaking Wednesday afternoon about using simulation in additive manufacturing. So if you're going to be attending, please come by the booth and also check out my talk. I think it's at 2:00, but you can find me if you look for Eric Miller in the agenda. Looking forward to that. Always get to see a few customers that we don't get to see too often there in California, as well from around the West. They stop by our booth and say hi. I'll be leaving to go to another event called the Advanced Manufacturing and Supply Chain Conference. And that's going to be in Huntington Beach on Thursday, the 12th and the 13th. It's actually Thursday's the 13th. And I'm going to be on a panel of talking about advanced manufacturing, specifically additive manufacturing, as you can imagine. And so that'll be a fun event. Hopefully you see some people there. And then webinar-wise, we've got 2 coming up. One is the Fluent Updates for Ansys 2020 R1, and that's going to be on the 12th. And then the next one is the 26th on additive manufacturing and topological optimization updates in Ansys 2020 R1. And as we discussed in last week's podcast, there's a lot of advances in both Fluent and the additive manufacturing suite. So check out both of those webinars. As usual, they're on brighttalk.com. Search for PADT or Ansys, and you'll find all of our past, future, and present webinars. and you can listen to them live or recorded. And that's pretty much it. I want to thank everybody for listening once again. I hope you enjoyed listening to our sales guys share their perspective. Don't forget to subscribe at www.ansys.com/opt-in to get our newsletter. Spread the word about the podcast, and don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us for the All Things Ansys podcast, episode number 56. As a reminder, this podcast is not affiliated in any way with Ansys Inc., and the opinions expressed are those of the people on the show only and not of their current or former employers. For more information, visit www.padtinc.com/blog, and please share your thoughts and questions through an email to podcast@padtinc.com. See you next time.